Hello everyone and welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So this is the full market analysis volume at 25 now. So pretty much all we do here was check out all of our charts, give you a bit of a bias, try and not make this as complicated as, all the other analysis videos. And again, pretty much giving you our predictions. So again, I do hope you do get a bit of value out of this. We do also have a trading group that you can join. That link is in the description below. And without further ado, guys, we'll get straight into the video. So we are looking at gold for tomorrow. So I'm going to do a separate video for that. So for now, we'll stick to New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Okay. So pretty much we saw in the end of the week, we're looking at a bit of a sell-off. So I'm using the Fibonacci tool here for a good retracement because I'm seeing this as a good, a good buying trend here. So we can see a new impulse here. And all we need to do now is, find a bit more of a retracement. We could be looking at the 50 fib or the 618 fib as well. So, I am expecting a bit more of a deeper retracement, but again, I'm still looking at exactly how we've rejected the 0.382. So that could be enough for price and to push up further. So I'm just keeping that in mind and perspective. So again, what we're looking at here is the long-term move to the upside. So if this does fly off through the week, we can always wait for one more retracement and then one final push up. So again, this is where I'm thinking price could head, and then ultimately we'll be in for the long term after we make these three waves to the upside, a strong correction to the downside. So again, this is just a bit of ahead, a bit more of a prediction ahead. But we'll see how if we can get a wave to the upside through the week. So this is where we could be looking at through this week. We'll see exactly how the news plays out as well. I do believe we do have some interesting news for the US dollar this week, so we'll just keep that in mind. So again, yeah, so waiting for a bit of retracement if possible before we head ultimately higher up. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much where I'm looking at. Keep an eye out on 0.672 and also 0.678 as well. This is obviously the high, so you could be finding retest levels here on intraday level. So moving on to AUDUSD. I was anticipating the market to move down, a sell-off this week. Fortunately, we couldn't get in on that entry here, so we could be looking at a possible pullback into some of these Fibonacci levels, and waiting for price to kind of reject at a 618 sort of level. So I'm keeping an eye out on that and seeing if we can find price to push lower. Another thing that's keeping up on my mind is how we kind of stagnated. We've basically pushed all the way up, and on a high time frame, think about this on a daily and a weekly. Price is pushing all the way high, and then let's actually check it right now. We've seen a strong momentum push to the upside. We're kind of left with an indecision here. So if we go on a daily, we can see price making its move, a nice rejection on the EMA. So we could be looking at either a possible push to the upside if it can. Again, I'm more favoring the downside move, so I'm going to hold any sell-off. So if price does manage to go above the high, we could get a fake breakout and something we could be looking at a good sell-off here. But ultimately, I do want to see price push further lower, as I did previously look at last week. We couldn't get into on this. We just need to go on I think we need, if you did go on a smaller time frame level, you could have got in on this nice push to the downside. So a nice 100 pip through the week. Obviously, it's quite long. So I'm thinking we may have a push up in store before next week. We may find another drop. But obviously we'll keep an eye out for that. EURUSD had our channel respected again this week. We had a nice sell-off opportunity here, straight to the downside. We can see how price is respecting our trend, our channel. If we could extend this, I'm not sure if we can actually. If we sort of manipulate it just a little bit, just to adjust how price is currently performing. 2, range bound, so 1, 2, 3. So for me, I think there's 2 scenarios that I'm looking out for here. So we have a double bottom here. We could see price push and extend and push and test this higher level of the market, the high range. So it could be going into 1.2 as I was looking at for, and look out for a possible rebound on the top wedge before we see price progress lower. I'm looking at a break on the downside of this channel, so could be looking at a nice retest at 1.17. So if we extend our zone here, we could pretty much see a good scenario playing out. So this is where I'm thinking price could head. So that's one scenario that I'm looking at. The other scenario is, we just get a strong break to the downside. So we miss a push to the upside and we just get a break to the downside here. So if we do get something like that, could get a break, retest of this structure, and again push lower. So those are the 2 things that you could be looking out for. It's up to you exactly where you want to be trading of these levels, if you want to be conservative or if you want to be aggressive. That again, I'll leave that to you guys. Moving on to USDJPY, I'm pretty much looking at this as a sell-off opportunity. Looking as the last week we had that strong sell-off momentum, but I was expecting a bit more of a possibility of a sell-off, but we've had this market moving in a bit more of a choppy scenario in this week, last week. So for me, I will be keeping an eye out on this zone here, so 106.8, seeing if price can progress higher. If it does, then we could be looking at a possibility of push and closure to the upside. So again, we need to update this pair, because if this does happen, we will have a complete different directional bias. But for now, for what I'm thinking is, as we're currently stepping down, we're making low lows and lower highs. We do have some warning signs of a potential progression to the upside. So I'm keeping out for this level here. Looks like a level like such, but I want to see price progress and push down into and take out this level. So as I've been talking about 104.2 for a couple of weeks now, that's where I'm thinking price could head to. Again, just stay aware of all of these intraday levels, because you could be looking at some possibilities here. Like for now, I'm looking at a nice head and shoulders pattern in hindsight. So you got your left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder here. So could be a nice setup opportunity here. That's why I'm partly thinking price could push into here, and this could be the neckline that needs to be broken. So again, just keeping out for this opportunity to sell off. Moving on to CADJPY now. So for me, I have been waiting for a better sell-off, if I'm being honest. Last week we ended up off with this push to the downside. Strong move again, but we recovered through the week with a strong push and momentum to the upside. Now thinking about this, this could give us a warning sign if we check a daily and the weekly as well. I'm going to do pretty much, last week we had a very strong doji sign here, but that easily got recovered. So this is why I'm staying cautious of this. We do have a nice build up of consolidation here. So scenario that I'm looking at is, if we do get a break above this structure here, I will need to consider reconsidering my bias. We may still be in a sell bias, maybe price is still pushing higher, but for me, I still think that price has this opportunity to push lower, and a strong correction to the downside is needed after we've had this strong progression to the upside. That's how I'm looking at this. So we could be looking at a progression to the downside with a retracement at 80.0, which is a nice psychological level. And we head straight into at least 78, or at least lower these structures at this lower point here. This is ideally where I'm thinking. Again, if price doesn't follow this plan, we always have a plan B situated in our heads, right? So again, we will obviously update this for you in due time if price does push higher. But if price does push above 82, that's when I'll be considering, okay guys, this is a clear structure change, and we could be looking at a possibility of a buying bias for the long run. Again, it's just seeing and observing how price plays out for this pair. Again, it's also the month, early start of the month, so we do have a lot of time on our hands for this pair to progress. So let's just see exactly what happens. So New Zealand dollar to Japanese yen, again, we were waiting for a bit of a deeper correction, if I'm being honest. I was looking for more of a Fibonacci retracement, so I want to see at least the 0.382 fib being respected, or we could get a bounce off here. Or we get one at the fib at the 50, or we get one at the 60. Even if we go lower, then we still have the 0.7 or the 0.886 as well to look at. But ultimately, that's what I want to be looking at, and see how this zone lines up nice and neatly with the 618. So that's at 70, and that's a psych level as well. I think I did mention this last week, but ultimately my bias is towards the upside. So as we can see here, a nice strong push to the upside. Could be looking at I think we do need a bit more of a stronger correction just to counteract this. But without these correction, guys, this is what makes a healthy trend. So just keep that in mind. If you're scared of these pullbacks of buying from the bottom, don't worry, because ultimately this is the main trend. I do believe this is clearly, to me, strong up move. Possible rejection is needed, and moves to the downside is needed. Could be progressing lower and lower. So we'll see how price plays out for this, but ultimately I want to see price head higher. So looking at EURJPY, again, I'm still looking out for a big sell-off here. My end of the week, well, for the last week we were looking at sell-off here, but we can see how price is moving sideways. So I'm keeping aware of this, because possibility we may have the opportunity to push higher again. And the reason why I'm still not so keen on any buy biases right now is because, as we can see, price is slowly progressing higher. I'm not so sure about taking any strong buys right now, and we do have this RSI divergence that I keep talking about week on week in. This sell-off opportunity should be coming soon. I mean, I don't want to put so much emphasis on the sell. I'm trying to keep out, trying to look for signs of bullish pressure. I'm seeing this nice sell-off here, push to the upside, slow momentum, push, equal pressure to the downside, a stronger pressure upside, equal pressure to the downside. So taking a look on a high time frame, starting to see a lot of wicks of possible slowing down of momentum. So at the end of the week, we did end with a doji. So pressure is on from the sellers. Now if we can get lower, then that's we do have a strong opportunity to push into some lower levels, potentially into 123, potentially into 122. That's where I'm thinking price could head. Again, looking at really retracing all of this move, really, because we still haven't had a strong retracement yet. So if we line up some of the fibs, we have roughly the 786 in line with the 121.5. We also have roughly the 618 and the 122.5. So again, these levels are kind of in the midst of a minor psychological range, which is still viable. You could find influx orders at these levels. So it's always at the round numbers and the 500 levels that I think the psychological numbers do work effectively. Obviously other people say differently, but I just noticed over time, try not to make it overcomplicated, because then it gets really difficult to trust your psychological levels. Okay, so for me, I stick to the whole numbers and the halves. Okay, so anything with 500 on the end. So again, pretty much my bias is towards the downside. Again, if we do have another situation where we push higher, it would be price pushing above 127, and we would need an update. But we could be looking at a retest level of this point, 126.5. and obviously you can see this zone, so it could be a good possible push to the upside. So just keep an eye out for that. So coming to the last three pair, guys, so AUDJPY. I have a mixed opinion about this. From the last week, I was saying about a retracement or price to respect the 1.382, and you can see exactly how price sniped it. So for me, I'm kind of expecting price to show a bit more of a aggressive sell-off, but this is still kind of stagnant. I could see a fib within a fib. If you place this out here, you can see how the 0.5 fib is holding quite well for the end of the week. So we could be looking at a possible move to the upside, and then I will review this because I still think price can make one push to the downside. So hence why I'm still considering any sell biases as well. But again, we could be looking at one possible move to the upside before momentum to kick in to the downside. So just keep an eye out for this possible false breakout. The other scenario again, guys, is if price just immediately breaks this uptrend, could be waiting for the retest at 76.5 and again progression to the downside. So again, we do have two scenarios to look out for, but ultimately I'm still holding my bets against the to the downside. So for USDCHF, we had an interesting week. We saw this strong momentum push to the upside. Now it would be interesting if we could get this closure above. If we do get that, could be looking at a nice retest here and a potential push further progression to the upside. If not, guys, we could be looking at a closure to the downside, retest here, and a further lower. I do think we are ultimately heading towards the upside because we can see, prices really stagnating, moving sideways. We do have this stronger divergence as we keep going in week on, week out. Price is making more of a divergence as price and time continuates. So we could start to see a possible movement to the upside, which is why we need to have some fundamentals to kick this out of this zone or this range. So ultimately this whole box range here. If we can get out of this level, we could be at a good possible uptrend and a new trend to form. So that's where my head's at with USDCHF. Not so much looking at this in buy or sell. I'm thinking about this in a very neutral aspect because with the consolidations, anything can happen. As long as we cover both routes, we should be covered with that. So USD CAD, pretty much there was a nice pressure to the downside, the retest of the trend, so could expect price to further kick lower. If again price does manage to return to this level, we could be looking at a break. If it does break above, look for the retest of the zone and a push higher, and again we could be looking at this break to the upside. But for now, we'll see if this momentum can continue to the downside and progress lower. So again, guys, that's pretty much all for the pairs. So we do have gold to look out for tomorrow. I wanted to cover a few different options for gold if you guys do trade it, so that's why I want to make a singular video for it. But yeah, at the start of the video I did mention about a trading group that you can join. That link is in the description below. So I'd highly recommend you to join that. Again, if you're new to this channel or you're a new trader, I do try to give you some tips and tricks, try and help you guys with your own trading. Pretty much it's all there to help you, so if it does help, feel free to let me know. If you do have any questions, message me on my Instagram, which is @KMTRADERS, or you can message me on my Telegram, which is @KMTRADERSFX. All the links are in the description, so feel free to check it out. So if you made it all the way to the end of the video, guys, thank you very much for listening. I do honestly appreciate all your support and your help. Again, if you want more information, more help from me, just get in contact. That's all I can say, guys. I'm more than happy to help anyone. Just make sure you contact me and I'll do my best, guys. So if you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure you're liked, make sure you're subscribed, check out my Instagram, give us a follow, and pretty much we'll stay tuned for tomorrow because we do have our gold video, and I think you might be interested in listening to that one. So guys, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys all in the next one.